Hey everybody, just wanted to make a quick screencast to possibly help you guys out on your final lab of the semester. Um, and in particular, in this lab, I challenge you to try to do something new and try to figure out how to do that thing using the knowledge that you've gained through the other activities and stuff we've done this unit. So I thought a good way to do that would be to pull up the all widgets example that's posted to Canvas. So I have that pulled up and running right here, right now. And you can see here that there's a bunch of different widgets that we haven't used that are included here. So this is a great resource for like trying to figure out how to do something new to add to your lab. All right, so the code is available to you. I'll go ahead and show it to you here in a second. Talk through a couple things with you. But it's there. So yeah, use that as a reference if you want to. There's lots of widgets that we have covered, such as a TK button, um, or an entry box or a text box. Other ones we've covered the radio buttons, we've covered the check buttons, uh, labels, of course, but I guess that's about it. So the ones that we haven't covered that you can see here are the TTK widgets, which are stylized widgets, which basically are like the newer, updated widgets that basically just look a little more modern than the standard TK ones. So you can read up on what that means exactly, but basically it's just um, different operating systems will handle it differently, but they just basically make it look a little more modern. All right, so there's examples of that in here as well. Other new ones, there's a spin box, scales, sliding scales. There's a combo box where you got a drop down, some menu options you can choose. There's also some additional features of the frames you can see here. Each of these little gray surround boxes are frames. So yeah, there's some new stuff. Let's actually close out of this and look behind the scenes. Another thing you'll notice if you pull up this source code is that the constructor here looks a little different. So it's not relying on that inheritance stuff I showed you in the other screencast. It's simplified a little more, and you're welcome to use this if you want. So you can see what happens if we go down to our main function at the bottom, is we just call the all widgets class, and that in turn calls our constructor, and the constructor is the one that actually creates the root window. And then the different frames and stuff are created from within this create widgets method right here. All right, so all of this is in the class context. So you're gonna see lots of self dot. So every widget, every button, every menu, everything is self dot, so that you can refer to it from within the class. And then one thing I wanted to show you, if I scroll down, because this is a question I got a few times from the notes this week and last week, were how to actually get the check buttons and the radio buttons to work, because they're a little different than other widgets. It's not like you just create the widget and then you can use it. You also have to create this additional object alongside the widget, which is either in the case of a check button, it's going to be a Boolean var, right? And that should make sense to you because a check button can only be one of two states, right? It can be checked or not. So the object you create alongside it is a Boolean. It's true or false. And you can see what I'm doing here is I'm setting this Boolean var to false. And then I tie this Boolean var object to an individual check button. Right, so my check button 1 gets its own, and I have to scroll a little bit here. Scroll to the right, you can see that it has its own variable set to one of the Boolean vars. Right, the second check button has its own Boolean var, and the third one has its own. So when I run the code, the check buttons all behave independently, right? And then if I wanted to check the state of any of these at any time, I could get the value of them, right? Because the Boolean var has a get method already. So you can use the get method to go ahead and retrieve the value of the button. All right, so that's cool. Then looking at the radio buttons, those behave differently, right? when you click a radio button, it selects it. But then if you click a different radio button, it deselects the one you're on before selecting the other one, right? So they're kind of tied together. The way you get that behavior, if I close out of this, if we look at the source code again, the way you get that behavior, if you scroll down and look, is there's just a single string var created. This is a different kind of object, string var for string, and you can tie a string value that gets selected when you select the radio button. So in this case, the variable here is the same for every radio button, right? In other words, they're all tied together, and they're going to behave um, as such. But then if you go and get the value of the string var, this radio variable here, at any point you decide to run the get method on it, it's going to get you whatever value is currently selected, right? So let's say radio button 2 is selected, it's going to get you the value of 1, right? Because that's what this programmer decided to put in here. All right, so if you run this again, select the second radio button, and if you get the value of your string var, it's going to return you whatever value is put in here. Okay, so that's how those two behave. You're required to do at least one of those on the summative lab. All right, so feel free to use like this as a resource, like I said. There's also other good stuff in here too. All right, and obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. I'm available. Office hours are 1:30 to 3 p.m. All right. Okay. Have a good one.